Newsmax will pay $67 million to Dominion, settling another defamation case over election lies. Sherry Redstone sells Paramount for just one-third of what it was worth when she took control. Job seekers are going old school, paper resumes, walk-ins, even trick questions as companies try to weed out AI fakes. Republicans head home for recess, but can't escape the Epstein controversy that still hangs over Congress. And Democrats keep holding retreats, still searching for a purpose, with critics warning that a 30-second ad isn't enough when Republicans are winning with 4-hour stories on podcast. Welcome to Filtered with TJ Walker. Okay, let's dive right into this Newsmax story. Newsmax forced to pay $67 million for election lies. The right-wing cable channel Newsmax has agreed to pay $67 million to settle a defamation lawsuit brought by Dominion Voting Systems. According to the New York Times, Dominion sued Newsmax for $1.6 billion, accusing the network of broadcasting conspiracy theories that falsely claimed Dominion's machines rigged the 2020 election. The settlement, finalized on August 15th, will be paid in 3 installments by early 2027. Dominion confirmed the deal, saying, "We are pleased to have settled this matter." Newsmax, however, stopped short of apologizing, insisting its coverage was fair, balanced, and conducted within professional standards of journalism. Judge Eric Davis of the Delaware Superior Court had previously ruled that Dominion presented clear and convincing evidence the claims were false. The trial was postponed earlier this year, but now won't go forward. This follows Fox News' record $787 million settlement in 2023 and comes amid other ongoing cases, including a $2.7 billion suit against Fox by Smartmatic. Okay, so what's the real message here? Newsmax is putting up a giant sign for its viewers. Hey, we'll tell you whatever you want to hear. We will lie to you. We'll tell TJ Walker he has a full head of hair. That means getting one more viewer and one more advertiser. If you watch Newsmax, when really the only thing you know with 100% certainty about them is that they lie. They are big fat liars. They're just going to tell you what you want. Don't tell yourself you're reading news. Tell yourself that you are watching a self-esteem building show. That's really what it is. Okay, let's go a little deeper. This is obviously a contentious issue to a lot of people because emotionally, a bunch of people felt like our candidate, we like him so much, so he had to win, even though the votes show something else. Well, that's not being an adult. That's being a child. And unfortunately, social media and broadcast media in this case, and cable media in this case, has said, we're going to treat people like children. We're going to tell them what they want to hear. Oh, little Timmy tells you Santa Claus doesn't really exist. Oh, ignore him. He's a devil. Yes, your Santa Claus exists, little Sammy. I mean, that's really what this is all about. And how people, first of all, full disclosure, I've been on Newsmax a bunch of times. In retrospect, I'm not sure I should have wasted my time. I, as a pundit and commentator, have typically taken the attitude of, I can't control every media outlet until I'm a multi-billionaire and have my own giant outlet with billions of viewers. I'm going to go on other people's outlets. I'm not looking for agreement. So I've been on Newsmax many times. Everyone was very polite, but there's no doubt everything has to follow an agenda. Every news article is positioned. Every topic of discussion is positioned from a political agenda. How can we make Republicans, Trump, MAGA look good, help them politically? How can we somehow do a story that makes a Democrat, a centrist, a Clinton, an Obama, a Biden, a Harris look foolish, silly, out of touch? Everything is positioned that way. So even though they had commentators on sometimes from left of center, it was always with the goal of painting some centrist Democrat as out of touch, without principles. So it's very much similar to Russia television. It's utterly pure propaganda. And if you're Russia television and you're based in Russia and your boss is Vladimir Putin, well, you're doing your job. There aren't going to be any law cases for libel or slander or anything like that, because as long as Putin likes you and you say what he wants to hear, you're in great shape. Well, sadly, or fortunately, we are not yet that country. We may be inching towards that country, but as of right now, 2023, 24, currently in 2025, there are still laws against libeling organizations and companies and just flat out knowingly giving people lies, creating these allegations that, Dominion somehow, and Smart Tech as well, or Smartmatic, rejiggered their machines to steal votes from your candidate. You can't just make up stuff and get away with it. But unfortunately, some of these companies, I don't know all the finances of Newsmax. It's much, much smaller than Fox News Channel. It did not start with Rupert Murdoch's cash. And while Rupert Murdoch, I'm sure, did not enjoy that massive 780 some million dollar payment that they had to pay to Dominion, it certainly looks as though Newsmax is going to be able to survive this. But my question to you is, look, you don't have to be a Democrat. You don't have to be a liberal. You don't have to be a progressive. You don't have to be a centrist. But if you have a single iota of self-respect, do you really want to listen to a so-called news organization that will tell you whatever you want to hear? As much fun as people like to make fun of MSNBC, I don't recall, after the 2016 election, all the commentators, I don't recall Rachel Maddow just standing up and saying, well, Hillary Clinton won in a landslide in the Electoral College as well as the popular vote. I don't remember the news anchors hour after hour. I don't remember Keith Olbermann at the time, or any other, Chris Hayes, saying, well, folks, that's it. Hillary Clinton won in a landslide in the Electoral College as well as the popular vote. They didn't say that because the people who watch MSNBC, yes, they have opinions. They have a perspective. They have a worldview. But that worldview is grounded in a proposition that facts matter, that there is such a thing as objective truth. And that is not one of the founding principles of Newsmax or Fox. Their worldview is the world is taken over by crazy left-wing extremists in the media, and we're going to balance things out by constantly mocking them, ridiculing them, saying they're wrong and saying they're big losers. Now, if that's your idea of balance, I get back to what I said at the beginning of this segment, which is if 99 out of 100 people who have actual eyeballs say, TJ, you don't actually have the best head of hair. Maybe you shouldn't be a hair model. Then if I were to have the attitude of Fox or Newsmax, I would have a channel all day long that just says, TJ has the best head of hair in the world. TJ has the thickest, most luxurious curly hair ever. He makes Samson weep. That would be the equivalent of me being fair and balanced the way Newsmax is. Utterly, utterly preposterous. More in a moment. Imagine having a communication coach who never sleeps. Meet your new secret weapon, the TJ Walker AI clone. Go to tjwalker.ai and start getting custom coaching 24/7. No scheduling, no hourly fees. I've trained presidents, prime ministers, and Fortune 500 CEOs, but the same exact communication I've delivered to world leaders is now available to you online, anytime at MediaTrainingWorldwide.com. Whether you're speaking on camera, pitching a client, or handling a crisis, You need these tools. These aren't fluffy motivational videos. They're practical, battle-tested techniques to help you speak clearly, competently, and persuasively. Go to MediaTrainingWorldwide.com and take your communication to the next level. Got feedback or a question for me? I actually read them, and if you send one, I'll send you a free mini course as a thank you. Just head to tjwalker.com/feedback. Ever wish you could just ask me your question live? Now you can. Every week I go live with members only. On YouTube, it's called TJ Live. I review pitches, fix presentations, and answer your questions on the spot. It's interactive, personal, and hands-on. If you want real-time coaching in a small group setting, go to tjwalker.com/live and become a member. This isn't passive content. It's a two-way conversation. Want to make sure we stay connected even if YouTube deletes me again? Join my newsletter at substack.com/@TJWalkerSuccess. It's free, fast, and packed with exclusive insights. Sherry Redstone cashes out Paramount at 1/3 its peak. Sherry Redstone spent much of her life trying to take control of her father's media empire. She finally succeeded in 2019, becoming controlling shareholder of Paramount Global when it was worth more than $25 billion. That's some inheritance. But just 5 years later, she sold it to Skydance Media for $8 billion, only about a third of its original value when she took charge. In her first lengthy interview since the sale, the New York Times reports Redstone described the decision as painful but liberating. I just wanted to be free, she said. The deal gave the Redstone family $2.4 billion for their stake, plus hundreds of millions more in payments. But their reputation took a beating. She was accused of caving to political pressure from Paramount, or when Paramount settled a lawsuit with President Trump, even as she battled cancer and internal boardroom strife. At 71, Redstone says her legacy isn't the price, but securing her family's future and leaving Paramount in capable hands. Okay, so what's the real message here? When Paramount was valued at $25 billion and a few years later they have to sell at $8 billion, it's not really surprising. That is the nature of capitalism, not just media businesses, but all businesses. General Electric used to be the biggest thing around, and now it's a tiny shell of its former self. No company stays high forever, especially media companies, because the children always want to go into the business because it's fun and it's glamorous, and it turns out they don't know anything about how to run media businesses. So let's dig a little deeper here. It was a tough time to take over a media business. There's no doubt about it. You had all these streaming wars. You had audiences fragmenting. You had sort of the gems of this network, CBS, hemorrhaging viewers every day. I mean, there was a time in my life, certainly, where I watched the CBS Evening News every night. I watched my local CBS station. I watched Walter Cronkite, and so did about 40% of Americans. These days, I could walk down the streets of where I live here in South Florida and probably ask 40 people, who is the anchor of the CBS Evening News? And I bet I wouldn't get a single person who would know the answer. So Paramount at some level is suffering the problem that all traditional media companies have: competition. Now, yes, there was competition in 2017 when she took over, 2019 when she succeeded her father. But the competition has only escalated. Every single day, there's somebody new, like me, starting a podcast, starting a YouTube channel, starting something to compete for attention. We live in an attention economy. It's a cliche, I realize that. But when you're in the media business, that is your whole business. You got to do one of two things. You got to put out something that is so attention worthy that it brings in an audience of people saying, that's so interesting. Here, take my money. If you're making a movie, for example, or a subscription network, or you've got to do something so interesting where you put it in front of people that people put down their cell phones or other channels on their cell phone. They walk into a theater, or they walk into an amusement park, or they sit down and just watch you on their screen or their phone. And there's so many of them that you can then sell that audience to advertiser. That's it. It's one of those two things. Facebook has only gotten stronger in the last 6 years. Google's only gotten stronger. All the big tech companies who are going after your eyeballs and Pac-Man like sucking up every inch of attention, all competition to Paramount. So what does this really mean for you and me? Let's step back for a minute. And this is not a show to give you stock picking advice. It's not a financial advisory show. So let me make that disclosure very clear. But if you're a responsible person and you're thinking about the future, you got to be thinking about your retirement. You have to be thinking about your investments. And my message here is really, do not fall in love with any one company. The history of capitalism is companies have a life cycle. It's rare for them to last more than 30 years. You look at the companies that dominated the Dow 60 years ago, 30 years ago, not many of those names are on there today. You look at any major stock index, and the names, they might not be changing daily, but they certainly change in a 10-year, 20-year, 30-year timeline. Don't fall in love with them. Don't hold that stock in any one company just because you think, well, it's always been great, it always will. Now, disclosure, I, through index funds, do own a lot of Apple. And Apple, according to some estimates, has given more return on investment to shareholders than any company in the history of the world. Apple's been good to me. But am I absolutely confident Apple's going to be a successful, profitable holding 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now? No, I'm pretty confident that 30 years from now, a lot of us might not even remember Apple because it will have outlived its lifespan. Something new will come along that is simply much better. And that's unfortunately what's happened to Paramount. It's not just the show, the late night show with Stephen Colbert, which couldn't be profitable. It's that so many shows like that can be done less expensively right here on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitch, wherever you're watching this show. You look at a show like Good Morning Mythical America, and it's a well-known, well-received, well-viewed show on YouTube. They have millions of viewers, millions of subscribers. They don't have any network behind them. It's just a couple of guys from my home state, North Carolina, decided they were going to put on a show. Well, now they're in LA and they have fancy sets and writers and production. They don't need Paramount. And so that's the problem with any media business. At some point, there may be a way where people don't need Apple. It may be you just think a thought, you're going to hear any music you want, see anything you want. That is the nature of capitalism. So be careful. Do not fall in love with any one company, certainly with any one media company, and realize that's the nature of capitalism. Nothing is good forever. Now, I kind of feel sorry for Sherry Redstone. Her own father mocked her and ridiculed her really throughout her life. And they had these power struggles. He would push her out of the company for a while. You know, you have to wonder, someone growing up fabulously, fabulously wealthy, a billionaire from the time you're a toddler, your kids are fabulously rich, your grandchildren are rich. Do you need to spend all your time in meetings battling shareholders and angry investors and lawsuits? Plus, she had cancer. She's over 70 years old. She was diagnosed with cancer. And at some point, I think, I don't blame her. You know, enough already. It does make you wonder, why did she really even want to take control of this in 2019? She could have presumably gotten a lot more for the company than what she got without spending the last 6 years in constant turmoil, constant fights, constant attacks. So that's the other real lesson here, is ask yourself, Why am I doing this? Is this what I wanted? Her father's vision was to be a big media mogul. He took a few movie theaters from his father and turned it into this vast, sprawling network that included CBS and MTV and everything in the world. That was his vision. He had a pretty rich, full, active life, but was that the daughter's vision? So my challenge to you is, are you truly doing something in your own career because you want to do it? Or is it because it's the family business and you have to? Look, if you're worried about your kids eating, I get it. Do what it takes to run the family business. But in this case, the Redstone family's great-great-grandchildren are going to have the luxury of being able to be coke addicts and heroin addicts if they want to. They're going to have so much money. Billions of dollars are still theirs. Now, it's true. They lost, do the simple math here. It sold for $8 billion. It was valued at $25 billion. So that's a tremendous, tremendous loss that they occurred of multiple billions of dollars, but they're still rich. So ask yourself, if you're doing something just for the money and you don't need the money, how motivated are you to really do a great job and to really constantly innovate? I didn't see a lot of innovation going on there at Paramount in the last 20 years. Granted, very, very difficult business these days to be a big media company. More in just a moment. Hey, if you're enjoying this kind of take and want to hear more stories filtered through the lens of communication, make sure you're following the show, whether you're watching or listening. New episodes drop every single day. And if there's a little notification option where you are now, go ahead and turn it on. It helps you stay in the loop. Hiring goes old school to Outsmart AI. According to Business Insider, job hunting in 2025 has become a cat and mouse game with artificial intelligence. Employers are overwhelmed with resumes written by chatbots, while applicants feel their online submissions vanish into a void. Some people are now ditching digital altogether. One 24-year-old landed the job only after dropping off a paper resume in person. Yes, you can still do that. He said, quote, "I literally just had to walk into that store and hand them an actual resume." He said a week later, he was hired. Employers are also adjusting. Devon Pastorius, who runs an advertising agency, asked candidates to share thoughts on AI and their favorite ad campaigns. The responses? Nearly 20 applications with almost identical answers. Nike, Coca-Cola, Duolingo, all clearly written by artificial intelligence. So businesses are turning back to in-person interviews, trick questions, and even flyouts just to make sure they're meeting real people. In a market with the lowest hiring rate in nearly a decade, the human touch is making a comeback. Okay, so what's the real message here? If you're trying to get a job and all you're doing is click, send, you're wasting your time. That is a stupid way of doing things in 2025. Humans are looking for real human connections, not just two AIs talking to each other. Do not be afraid to walk into a business with a resume. The worst that can happen is they laugh at you and kick you out. You haven't really lost anything. Don't be afraid to call people, meet people for coffee, go to professional events, do anything other than spend 8 hours a day, click, send. Okay, let's go a little deeper here. This is a personal matter to me because I do have friends and family members who are currently looking for work, and I try my best to help them any way I can. I mean, given my line of work, I rehearse with them, coach them for their job interviews. But the challenge is getting job interviews in the first point. The most effective way to get a job when I was growing up is exactly the most effective way of getting a job interview today, and that is to have some personal connection with the company, with the organization. Someone who's already met you, someone who's already talked to you, someone who knows you are a real person. And you can say, well, TJ, you're old. You don't know what you're talking about. You're a small company. That's how Google does it. Recent research has shown that some 70% of applicants ultimately hired by Google had some internal ally. The number one mistake people make, not just 22-year-olds right out of college, but 45-year-olds and 62-year-olds, is they think a job hunt is about click, send, click, send, click, send. Yeah, do that 30 minutes a day, but the other 7.5, 8, maybe 10 hours a day, if you're hungry, is trying to connect with real human beings. Call them, text them, say, can I take you out for coffee? Say, can I just pick your brain for 10 minutes on a Zoom or a Skype? Well, people don't use Skype anymore. Microsoft Teams meeting. Try to actually talk to people, because if you talk to them, especially if you meet in person, they'll know you're not AI. So this is increasingly a problem for everyone on both sides, because if you're an employer and you put out a job interview or a job request, you're looking to hire someone, all of a sudden it's boom, 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 you get thousands, tens of thousands of resumes come in, and they all look alike, and all the cover letters sound alike. And if you put a couple of questions for people to answer, those all look alike. And that's a big problem if you're an employer trying to hire someone. If you are trying to find a job and you're competing in that, you get lost in the shuffle. So what happens to so many employers is they put a job posting, 10,000 resumes come in, and then they ask other people they already know and work. Hey, does anyone know for this? I don't have time to go through 10,000 resumes and cover letters. And they talk to people and they get maybe 3 recommendations. They bring those people in for a conversation, and then they hire one of them. So that's still the best way. Oh, TJ, that's unfair. You're saying it's not what you know, it's who you know. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying what you know should have a direct impact on who you get to know, and that will have an impact on your career, on the job you get. Let's just say you graduated from a state school in Iowa in computer science, and you don't know anyone way off in Silicon Valley or in New York City, and you'd like to work in one of those two places. Well, rather than sending out 10,000 resumes every day, why not pinpoint the 5 or 6 companies you'd really like to work for? Find their top leaders on LinkedIn, start following what they post, their thought pieces, give comments, ask questions, share their thought pieces, add insightful comments, follow them on X, follow them on other social media. Don't start asking them for job interviews. Don't ask them for a job. Just follow them, learn from them, add to the conversation, promote their ideas. After a while, they're going to start to feel like you're a savvy, smart person. After a while, if you ask questions, they might answer you. And ultimately, they may respond to you if you say, hey, I have a passion for this subject. I really followed what you've done, X, Y, and Z. It seems like your company is really doing innovative things in this particular area of X. Do you have anyone in your company who would talk to me about possible opportunities in the future? Do that 20 times a day. See where that gets you. I'm willing to bet it gets you a lot further along than just the typical click, send, click, send, click, send of sending resumes. I wish you tremendous luck in your career and finding a job. That's what we're about here. This show, Filtered with TJ Walker, is looking at the top business, technology, and culture stories of the day, filtered through the lens of communication skills and personal development, all with the goal of making you more successful, your personal life and your professional life. That's what we're about. So who am I? Rick just writes in, the old who you know versus what you know. Okay, you're referencing a who. So now you're talking to my generation. I am a fan of the Who. Did get to see them in concert once. And great content creators. Some people may say it's sacrilegious to talk about one of the greatest bands of all time as being mere content creators. If that offends you, I understand, but they are. And they give their audience what they want, and they try to make shows, really special, magical experiences for their audience. I know it was for me. I mean, if you're one of the band members and you're singing one of the same 30 songs you've been singing for 50 years, it's probably just another day at the office. But you're thinking about, wow, to paraphrase John Lennon, wow, I just created another swimming pool, writing a song or delivering the song. So great musicians, I think, enjoy entertaining people, performing in front of people, and making music and creating. And at some point, maybe they're not creating as many new songs as they did in the past, although there are some musicians. Robert Plant, one of my favorites, continues to create new original music all the time. Even Paul McCartney creates new original music all the time. The Who, that hasn't been their main thing. They have stuck to their classics, but they've remained fan favorites. And I believe, Rick, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that Roger Daltrey now has announced pretty much he's not going to be performing anymore because of advancing age and ailments accompanying by it. But when I saw him, it didn't seem that long ago, he still sounded great, looked great, and they put on a fantastic show. We have more stories coming up for you. I'll warn you, we are going to talk about some things of a political nature. This is not primarily a political talk show. This is not Fox News Channel. This is not MSNBC. I am a centrist. I call it like I see it. I give you objective analysis based on my 40 years experience coaching Wall Street wizards, billionaires, fund managers, Fortune 500 executives, and yes, political leaders around the world on how to communicate more effectively and how to build personal development habits to become successful. That is my background, and that's what I'm here to do for you. Let's hop in right after these commercial messages. Imagine having a communication coach who never sleeps. Meet your new secret weapon, the TJ Walker AI clone. Go to tjwalker.ai and start getting custom coaching 24/7. No scheduling, no hourly fees. I train presidents, prime ministers, and Fortune 500 CEOs. But the same exact communication I've delivered to world leaders is now available to you online, anytime at MediaTrainingWorldwide.com. Whether you're speaking on camera, pitching a client, or handling a crisis, you need these tools. These aren't fluffy motivational videos. They're practical, battle-tested techniques to help you speak clearly, confidently, and persuasively. Go to MediaTrainingWorldwide.com and take your communication to the next level. Got feedback or a question for me? I actually read them, and if you send one, I'll send you a free mini course as a thank you. Just head to tjwalker.com/feedback. Ever wish you could just ask me your question live? Now you can. Every week I go live with members only. On YouTube, it's called TJ Live. I review pitches, fix presentations, and answer your questions on the spot. It's interactive, personal, and hands-on. If you want real-time coaching in a small group setting, go to tjwalker.com/live and become a member. This isn't passive content. It's a two-way conversation. Want to make sure we stay connected even if YouTube deletes me again? Join my newsletter at substack.com/@TJWalkerSuccess. It's free, fast, and packed with exclusive insights. Welcome back. Republicans can't shake the Epstein controversy. Republican leaders in Congress tried to head off the Jeffrey Epstein controversy before leaving for their summer recess, but the issue has only followed them home. According to the New York Times, the Trump administration has failed to release files tied to its Epstein investigation, despite subpoenas and bipartisan pressure. Representative James Comer, chair of the Oversight Committee, said this week that the Justice Department would begin sharing Epstein records by Friday, though he admitted it could take time. Meanwhile, Democrats have set procedural traps to force Republicans to face the issue again in September. Representative Thomas Massie, a Republican, and Ro Khanna, a Democrat, are preparing to use a discharge petition to demand a floor vote on releasing the files. They already appear to have the support needed to succeed. Former Attorney General William Barr, who oversaw the Justice Department when Epstein died in 2019, has already testified behind closed doors. More depositions are scheduled, keeping the case active and politically explosive. Okay, so what's the real message here? Again, the Epstein scandal is not going away. The Epstein files must come out. And what MAGA fans around the country need to realize is it may look really bad for Donald Trump. Remember the guy who is Epstein's best friend? The guy whose only reason for getting upset with Epstein and breaking things off was, oh, this guy hired away my 16-year-old so it could be his 16-year-old. This is not a good look. It's going to look worse and worse every single day. The story is not going to be pushed off the headlines for much longer. Okay, let's dig a little bit deeper here. Why is this issue so big? Why is this different from the Access Hollywood tape, for example? Why is this issue bigger than the assault charges, convictions, the libels against E. Jean Carroll? Why is this issue bigger than the 33 felony convictions? That's right, folks. Let's not forget we have a convicted felon as president of the United States. Why is this issue bigger? Because it ties in every single strand of conspiracy thinking, of grievances, real and fake. It ties into every sort of bizarre idea on how the world works, and it's grounded in a lot of real world tragedies and crimes. There's a lot of facts here. There's simply no doubt that Jeffrey Epstein ran a horrible, horrible, sex crime organization, and that he personally molested, raped, abused children. He was convicted of that. Ghislaine Maxwell, horrible, horrible person. She wasn't just his assistant saying, okay, here's a tissue. Where do we go next? No, she was there in on all the activity. She was there recruiting. She was there, by most accounts, there molesting. And it's not going to go away. Yes, she was a part of the elite. Yes, she, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Epstein were buddies with prominent liberals and Democrats, Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, but nobody seems to have had a closer relationship than Donald Trump. I keep getting back to this idea of you can scour every photo, every video of Donald Trump over his lifetime. And this guy's been mugging for the cameras since high school. You'll never see a picture of Donald Trump looking happier or a video of Donald Trump looking happier than when he is in the presence of Jeffrey Epstein. That handwritten note where he talks about they have a great secret and they know the secret to staying young forever, signed on the woman's private parts. And Trump's only defense is, oh, I've never done art. When he has signed numerous drawings of the New York City skyline, bragged about how he raised money for charity with his drawings, his artwork. His only defense is, oh, I've never drawn anything before. It's one thing to lie to cover up a crime, but it's another to tell blatant lies that anyone who can count the number of fingers on their hand can add up and tell this is obviously a lie. When Trump says, I've never done a drawing in the world, therefore I couldn't have sent the birthday note to Epstein about our secret that we'll always share together. And there are drawings everywhere on the internet. There are drawings of his in bookstores that he donated for charity, probably tax write-offs. When something is so easily, demonstrably proven to be a lie, and that's your defense, it doesn't make the story go away. And that's what's happening to Trump. I mean, he's changed his story so often that, he knew that Epstein was a creep, so he he got rid of him. He disassociated with him. That was one story. And then it was, he acted inappropriately to a member's daughter. That was another story. And you could say those are similar. But the most recent one is he was angry with Epstein for taking his staff. And as Bill Maher pointed out, Trump's attitude is essentially, you want to rape people? No problem. But steal my staff as a businessman? Nah, that's where I draw the line. It really is a bizarre explanation. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is it turns out the staff member Epstein took from Trump was a 16-year-old. A 16-year-old who ultimately became a part of this sex slave network and ended up killing herself. So this is ugly business. And a lot of people are really stuck in this real quandary because a lot of people who like to think of themselves as right-thinking Americans, conservative, traditional, like to think of themselves as, I am fundamentally against pedophilia. I'm fundamentally against child abuse. And here's their leader, where fact after fact after fact, message point, data point after data point is all pointing in the same direction. This guy was part and parcel of the whole scandal. Now, do I have some documented evidence right here showing that Trump was sexually abusing 10-year-olds? No, I do not. I'm not asserting that. But if you keep demanding the files to be released, be careful. You might get something that surprises you or that doesn't support your concept of dear leader. That might make it untenable for you to increasingly support dear leader and say he's the chosen one from something or someone above. Now, the MAGA crowd is very skilled at whitewashing history, simply changing inconvenient facts. And I'm sure that if we had sworn testimony from 100 women who said that, yes, when they were 16 years old, Jeffrey Epstein forced them to have sex with Donald Trump, their children, and Trump knew they were 16, I'm sure the MAGA crowd would simply flip a switch. Then they would start posting on Twitter and X and Truth and all these saying, okay, the evidence is in. Joe Biden had sex with all these underage girls. They would just switch the name because if you want to watch Newsmax and Fox tell you your guy won the election, regardless of the facts of how many votes are cast, I guess you would just ignore files, sworn depositions, video testimonial from anyone saying your guy is a rapist of children. Again, I have no proof of that. I'm not alleging that. What I'm saying there's a clear-cut pattern whereby supporters of this dear leader will excuse away absolutely anything. They will just say, nope, don't see it. Didn't happen, didn't see it. Well, this issue isn't going away. I will be giving you updates here, trying to somehow parse this, disentangle this from all the disinformation so we can, as a nation, get to the bottom of it. Okay, enough about that. I like to play it fair here and objective. The Republicans and the MAGA crowd, they're not the only ones with problems these days. The Democrats are in big trouble as well. According to Slate, Democrats are still struggling with a core problem. What do they really do? Party leaders spent 2025 in retreat after retreat, from Arizona resorts to California wine country, debating slogans and strategies. But columnist Ben Mathis-Lilly argues that Democrats are chasing the wrong thing. He says, quote, a message works in a 30-second advertisement. He writes, a purpose is what fills a 3-hour podcast and gets people to volunteer for your campaign. Republicans, he says, are winning because they tell stories that last. Democrats remain stuck on ad copy. So, what should Democrats be for? The piece suggests some simple but powerful pillars: healthcare, childcare, housing, and education that don't leave families drowning in debt, a government that enforces laws fairly, safe schools, libraries, and parks for everyone, respect for science, medicine, and vaccines, and progress on climate and gun safety so Americans don't, in the author's words, fry to death in a global warming hellscape. In short, Democrats don't just need better ads, they need a purpose voters can believe in. Okay, what's the real message here? What do Democrats stand for? I don't know. You don't know. And that's a problem for the Democratic Party because that opens up a void for Republicans to say the Democrats are nothing but a bunch of commie pinko weirdos who want your daughter to have to compete in a swimming match against a 6'2" former man. The Democrats have to come up with something, and it's not about quick, clever 30-second ads. It's about a general purpose that they can talk about for 3 hours on a podcast and be likable. Let's dig a little deeper. This is an issue that has fascinated me, and I've spent a good amount of my time for really the last 40 years of my life grappling with, because I do give the Republicans a lot of credit. They are excellent at branding, at messaging, and storytelling. And they understand there's a clear-cut message hierarchy, because it used to be, we're a conservative. A conservative stands for cutting your taxes, strong defense, traditional moral values. And so it was a little Christmas tree almost, 1 point down to 3. And then you can fill it out with stories of, oh, I'm a patriot, and I am of a popular religion that everyone else in our town believes in, and I fought in wars, and I'm a good American. And so they were very good at giving positive messages about what they believe. And they were really, really good at saying, our opponents, doesn't matter how conservative or centrist the Democrat is, they were great at saying our opponent, the Democrat, is a liberal. And the liberal is going to increase your taxes, weaken defense. Back then it was the commies will come get you. Now it's the immigrants and foreigners will come get you. And they don't believe in traditional values. They want your 12-year-old son to have a sex change operation and your 12-year-old daughter to have an abortion at school, paid for by tax dollars. That was the messaging. It worked decades ago, and that discipline has continued to this very day. What's shifted is when Trump took over, he changed the brand from the word conservative to MAGA, and he tailored it to his own needs. And where he was so brilliant is understanding the power of social media to enrage people. The way you get attention, the number one way to get attention, is to just talk about why you hate someone and why everyone else should hate someone. No one better at that than Donald Trump. So the messaging was no longer quite as much of, here are the positive things about us. We're going to cut your taxes and we're going to strengthen defense. Spending 50% of that time and 50% on why any centrist Democrat is actually worse than Fidel Castro. Well, his brilliance was, I'm going to spend 95% of my time talking about how bad these opponents are, making fun of them and ridiculing them. Sometimes I put some facts in, sometimes I'll just make up stuff. It doesn't really matter as long as I put people on the defensive, and if I just sling enough mud everywhere, people might not like me, but they're really going to hate this other team over here. That is the beauty of Donald Trump, and my belief as to why he rose to power and got a major party nomination, not once, not twice, but 3 times. Why he's been able to run for president 3 times, win twice, and get the popular vote once. Those are not insignificant accomplishments. Should the Democrats try to be exactly like Donald Trump and start painting their face orange and cotton candy spray paint their hair and wear bleach blonde wigs? No, that's not the part they need to emulate. But I do think they need to learn about this power and this ability to focus on shaping a worldview. What do you stand for? What's wrong with the opponents? That has got to be addressed. That's an issue we'll be talking about from time to time right here on this show. I don't have every answer. I can tell you, I think the Democrats need to do something similar to the Republicans. They need a brand. They actually need a name for their brand. Conservatives did extraordinarily well with the word conservatism, the word MAGA, and the Democrats spend all their time, oh, I'm not a liberal. That's where the whole progressive came in. It's kind of like, oh, I'm not liberal. And then progressive has been tainted. And it's a constant trying to avoid labels. If you're a candidate and you say, well, I'm not really a liberal, and I'm not too progressive, I'm not too this, you end up standing for nothing. So the Democrats need to start with some word. They can call it centrist, they can call it moderate, they can call it whatever they want. But until they do so, they're always going to be defined by their opponents. And that definition is always going to be horrible. Okay, I want to thank you for joining me today. I'm TJ Walker. This is a new show. It's filtered with TJ Walker. Every day we look at the top business, technology, and culture news of the day, filtered through the lens of communication skills and personal development skills, all with the goal of helping you become more successful in life. So many news shows are just about gloom and doom, and you watch it or read it, and all you do is get depressed. I'm trying to help you here, and I want you to feel like you learned something from the news that's also practical to you. As it relates to this last issue, you may never want to run for political office. You may not even care about political parties. That's okay. The point is still similar. You need a story to tell about yourself that people can understand, that isn't just about one 30-second message. Messages are important. You need messages in a campaign. But the real campaign is won not 30 days out on the election. And all the polling data shows this. The real campaign is won 2 years out by what you're saying every day in speeches, books you write, what you're saying on podcast, what you're saying. That's what defines a party. Because one of the things we've seen in the last few elections here in the United States is virtually no votes changed the last month. The Democrats still have this big belief that, oh, if we just raise another $1 billion more for TV ads, which nobody watches, for the last month, we'll win all these independent voters and swing voters. Guess what? There aren't any independent voters in America. People have made up their mind because we now live in this soup of ongoing daily commentary from political players in every party, every persuasion. And people have made up their minds well before Election Day. So the time to do it is in your storytelling ability today, not election year, not 6 months before the election, not 3 months before the election, not the week before the election, not the debate a week before the election. The time to start defining yourself is today and every day. I'm TJ Walker. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you here tomorrow.